Hey, what's up, Pitmasters? Arnitex here. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Now, this is just a teaser of my complete online Pitmaster class. This is part 3 of where I take a deep dive into showing you guys what I do to select the best possible briskets. Now, part 1 and part 2 will be posted here on YouTube. The links will be at the description down below, so y'all can click on those and check those out as well. Now, besides that, we've been running for exactly a week a 50% off promotion on my complete online Pitmaster class. We're going to shut that down in 24 hours, but we wanted to give you guys an extra 24 hours here on YouTube to my YouTube fans and my friends to buy this complete online Pitmaster class for 50% off. The price will never be this low again. So we're going to run it for an extra 24 hours just for you guys. Make sure you click the links below to buy the Pitmaster class. At least check out the videos first, and then you can decide. Thanks for watching, everybody. Keep the smoke light and make it work. Boom. Hey, what's up, Pitmasters? Welcome to my selecting competition brisket video. We're going to go through several boxes. We're here at Aguilar Meat Market today. First thing you got to do to cook a really great award-winning brisket is buy a good brisket first. And to do that, you really need to have a good relationship with your meat market guy or your butcher. That's a really, really big plus. Sometimes, you know, they'll do you little favors. They'll save you a good one, or they'll let you come in like we're doing here today. We're going to select 3 really good briskets. We have a really big competition coming up here in about 3-4 weeks, maybe a month. And so we're here to select 3 briskets. We're probably going to do 2 test runs at home and save the best one for the actual cook-off. Again, so if you really want to have a really great looking brisket in your competition tray, it starts right here at your butcher at the meat market. All right, with that said, let's start looking at some briskets. Let's look through these boxes. This box here is a box of Swift primes. Swift is a really good brand. There's several other good brands out there. IBP's one of my better choices also, and then Swift is right up there with IBP. I like both of those brands. To begin with, what you want to look for is a brisket that's not too big on the point and not too skinny on the flat. If you're looking at this one, you can see that the flat's fairly thin. It's kind of a long brisket. But what you want to look for is a nice big flat that kind of tapers off from the point, but not too much. You want a small point. You want to keep it as flat as you possibly can. That will minimize your trimming process. So I'm going to put this in my no pile. Not likely to use that one. This one kind of looks very, very small on the flat. This is a little too small for me. I would not consider that one for a competition. And this one, you know, I can see here in this box, they're pretty much all the same. It came from one particular ranch or plant, I believe, so that might make the difference. You can see here, this has like a really big point up here on top. You would have to trim that off, cut this off completely for a competition trim. And what I normally am looking for is I'm looking for my 9 slices. The grain runs, for example, on this one this way. My 9 slices are going to come from right here. So I want a nice thick flat here, and I want it to still be nice and thick over on this end. This whole zone, I call it a zone right here. This is your 9 slice zone. I don't think I would like that one either. So let's look at one more out of this box right here. This is the nicest one. The last one I pulled out of the box is the nicest one out of this particular box. And we're going to look at a few more boxes for you guys and kind of try to point out which ones are good. This brisket has a nice big flat. You can see on the end, it's not too bad. It's a little skinny on this end, but since it's a little bit longer, bigger brisket, and my 9 slices are going to come from right here in this zone. The grain runs right here. It runs like that. This section right here is actually really nice on this brisket, so I'm going to put this on my maybe pile right here. This is my no pile. This is my maybe pile. I'm just going to go ahead and put the no piles over here since I'm not going to consider them at all. I'm going to get another box up here. And you need big muscles to handle big boxes, by the way. Just kidding. This is a big brisket, just pulling it out of the box. I can see that. Wow, this is nice. Now this is also a Swift box. This is a prime. This is a really nice thick brisket. It has a humongous point over here. So I'm willing to overlook that sometimes if the flat is really big. If in that 9 slice area that I'm looking for looks really big and thick, I'm willing to trim that off. This is a short brisket, but if you can see here, the marbling's like really, really great. Excellent marbling. The 9 slice zone, as I call it, is right here. Really nice and thick. Really good flat on this one. Really good flat. Nice and thick. You can see all the marbling. What I look for here is speckling on the side. You can see the speckling. Those are striations of fat that run through the brisket with the grain. So I'm looking for that. I'm going to pull the plastic down to try to get you guys a little bit better view here. As you can see that. You can see all that fat right there. All those little fat lines. That's really what we're looking for. Good marbling makes a really good brisket. I'm going to put this on my maybe pile here also. This has a nice big flat. You can see here, this is the way the grain runs on this brisket right here. Runs straight across this way. This is a nice brisket. That's a nice big flat right here. And the flat runs really nice all the way where my 9 slices are going to come from, all the way to the other end. You can see that it's a really, really nice thick flat. When you inject these briskets, they're going to plump up. They're going to blow up like a little football. So this would be a nice brisket to have in your tray. And you see the points not excessively large, top or bottom. It's nice, flat, and even. It's a Swift. It is a prime. I have cooked quite a bit of Swifts. And I'm going to say probably one of the best briskets I ever turned in at a competition was a Swift. Even though I'm sometimes partial to IBP. But I think Swift and IBP are probably 2 of your very, very best brands out there when it comes to competition briskets when you're selecting primes. This one's a nice flat brisket, a little too thin on the flat. You can see here it's thin all the way through. This would make a really nice catering brisket. Nice, long, flat, not too much fat. So that one's going to go in my no pile over there in the box. It's okay if I mix the boxes? Is this enough? Let's take a look at another one. This one's kind of nice and flat. A little bit of marbling. You can see right here, it does have some marbling. Not quite as marbled as I would like it to be. It is a pretty decent brisket. In a make-it-work situation, I would probably cook this brisket. It's small enough, and the flat's just almost right there where I'd like it to be. If I couldn't find anything better, I wouldn't mind taking it as a backup at the very least. This one here is pretty nice little brisket. You can see the thickness. There's a little fat right here. There's a little fat that kind of overlays. But if you look at this section here, you can see that it's just barely thick enough, but it would work if we needed it to. You can see right here, really nice marbling. You can see the striations of fat. This is a nicely marbled brisket. The flat's kind of big up here. Not too big, but it's big enough. Remember, my 9 slices are going to come from right here. So I've got plenty of thickness here, or just enough, and it comes all the way. It's nice and even all the way across. So this is also a maybe, possibly. We're going to pull one more box. And in this box here, these are 1855s. Now these are upper 2/3 choice briskets. Ideally, I would prefer a prime. A good choice, a upper 2/3 choice like this, could also work really, really well in a competition. I've cooked a lot of choice briskets, and the 1855s are an excellent brand, an excellent choice also. And again, sometimes, as long as the marbling's there and you know the brand is a good brand, which an 1855 is, you know, it'll still work. You can tell by looking at this one, if you zoom in a little bit, it has excellent marbling, really good marbling. The flat is nice and thick right down to the end. It does have an excessive point here. Sometimes I think the packers do that just, you know, because they're selling by the weight, and of course they're trying to make as much money as they can, just like we all do in whatever business we're in. I would just cut this off anyway and make some really good hamburgers. Be an awesome hamburger coming out of an 1855. I'm going to put this in my maybe pile also, just because it has a beautiful, beautiful flat from one end to the other. Here's another 1855. This has a really nice flat all the way across. You can see it's a little flatter, has a little bit of fat on top, but I can still see the really nice marbling. Again, this is an upper 2/3 choice, but it's a really good looking brisket all the way through from one end to the other. I'm going to still keep that in my maybe pile also. This would work too. Not too big on the point. Nice thick flat here. The grain's running right across this way. It runs a little thin on this end. When you really kind of look at it close, you can see that the point is, the flat up here kind of gets pretty thinned out. It might be the fat hiding it, but if you look right here, you can still see that it's fairly thin. I'm gonna put this in my no pile for sure. Here's another 1855 that has a huge flat over on this end. This has a really nice big flat, nice and thick. I mean, man, that's 1.5 inches at least, possibly 2 on that end. And it does look like the point's not too excessively big, so you're not paying for extra meat you don't need. I personally don't care about the weight. I don't buy my briskets by weight. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna say most of my briskets somewhere between 14 and 16 pounds. Some cooks like to cook 18 and 20 pounders because they get a nice, really big flat. Me personally, I like to get a 14 to 16, 9 times out of 10. Again, I don't usually buy it by weight. I'm looking for the shape. I'm looking for the flat to be nice and thick. This one's pretty thin down on this end, but it's quite a bit larger on this end. So again, my 9 slice zone, at least for Texas here, we have a pretty decent flat that we could get 9 really nice slices out of if we wanted to. I think that one might work. Let's put it in the maybe pile here. And we have one. All right, we have one more 1855 to look at here. I'm looking at this flat. For me, this flat's just a little too thin. Even though it doesn't taper off too much all the way through. There is a decent amount of flat here, a decent looking flat, but this is gonna go in my no pile also. All right, Pitmasters, we're winding down a little bit. I have one more box to look at. This is an Akaushi brand by Beeman Ranch, and I've cooked plenty of those. It's an excellent choice also. They are a strain of Wagyu. Man, I'm telling you what, this is a beautiful, beautiful brisket. All right, Pitmasters, thanks for watching. Again, this is only a little piece of part 3. The rest of part 3 is inside my complete online Pitmaster class. Part 1 and part 2 are in the links below. Go ahead and get registered for my complete online Pitmaster class for 50% off. Don't miss your opportunity. Keep the smoke light, make it work. Bam!